Most weight loss plans are one size fits all, not taking into account each person's individual needs. Noom is here to change that. Noom Weight uses psychology. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain. But it also takes into account your unique biological factors, which also affect weight loss success. The program helps you understand the science behind your eating choices and why you have cravings. Everyone's journey is different, so your daily lessons are personalized to you and your goals. One of the great things about Noom is that it's nourishing instead of restrictive. They focus on progress instead of perfection. You don't have to give up carbs, or anything for that matter. Have cravings? Food FOMO? Noom can help you lose weight while still enjoying your favorite foods. To date, Noom has helped more than 5.2 million people lose weight. Stay focused on what's important to you. With Noom's psychology and biology-based approach, sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And joining us now to talk about all of that, and we continue also not just with Charlie, we have Judge Weinberg and also former Congressman Peter King in studio with me and John. We have Andy McCarthy, former Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Southern District in New York. Andy, walk us through sort of the landmines that lay ahead for President Trump.
Yeah, Rita, I was really hoping that we'd get to an election and the lawfare would be in the rearview mirror, but I have a feeling the next 1 to 2 years, if President Trump wins the election next week, could make us feel like the last 2 years or so were sedate, because I think that you're going to see an effort made not to seat him in the January 6th joint session of Congress. Remember, the Supreme Court said when it ruled on this back in March that the states can't invoke Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, that insurrection provision, but the Congress can. And obviously, a lot rides here on how the congressional races turn out. But if Democrats have a majority in the House, I expect that you're going to get some mischief with respect to that. I think they'll probably get past that, but it's not going to be as easy for former President Trump to, when he is President Trump again, to dismiss Jack Smith and dismiss the federal cases against him.
Unless he wins the Congress, the Senate, and the executive office.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think if he has control of the Senate, then he's going to be able to get his nominees through. But if, for example, the Democrats were to win the Senate, they will try to wrangle a promise from whoever his nominees at the Justice Department are that they won't disturb that investigation, which, of course, Trump's nominees are not going to do. I think Trump can fire Jack Smith. This idea that he has to go through the Justice Department chain of command, I think, is wrong. But remember when the last Trump Justice Department tried to dismiss the case against General Flynn, the federal judge who had that case, Emmett Sullivan, didn't allow them to do it. Now, I think if they had had more time to appeal him up the chain, they probably could have gotten him reversed on that. It was toward the end of the administration. It was clear Sullivan was playing games and he was trying to make Trump pardon Flynn rather than dismiss the case. But I have a feeling this Judge Chutkan will kind of do a reprise of what Judge Sullivan did and give the Justice Department a hard time about dismissing the J6 case. I think the case in Florida will be gone for sure. But the one in Washington may not be as easy to get rid of as he's hoping.
Yeah, she seems determined. And everybody we're talking to, former Assistant U.S. Attorney Andy McCarthy. Judge Weinberg.
Andy, in your column today in the National Review, which was a terrific column, you also raised the specter that if he tries to pardon himself, that is, Trump tries to pardon himself or tries to dismiss the special counsel, what you're looking at with a Democratic House is playing the whole sham of impeachment again, and the House of Representatives, right, as you know, the articles of impeachment. So he could play that game and divert him from governing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that what they're going to try to do is make the J6 case this Trump term's Russiagate, in the sense that if they have a majority in the House, they will use either the dismissal of that case or the self-pardon if it comes to that. I don't think it should come to that. He should be able to get his Justice Department to dismiss the case. But assuming Judge Chutkan gives him a hard time about that and plays it out too long to the point where he'd have to think about pardoning himself, I think they will use that as a predicate to try to impeach him. Now, they're never going to have the votes in the Senate to convict, remove, and disqualify him. But the thing is, everybody's got to remember, if he gets in, he's not looking at 8 years, he's looking at 4 years. And he's really got to hit the ground running to get stuff done. And the last thing I think that he's going to have time for, remember, an impeachment process, once they trigger that, it really consumes everything. All the other stuff that you try to get done legislatively has to get put aside because they put that in as the first order of business. So it can really gum up the works.
Yeah, bog him down. And we have Charlie Gasparino here.
Hey, Andy, I know.
Hey, Charlie.
Just predicting the future of is not your not your forte. You're a legal expert, but let's just play this out a little bit. Trump wins. Obviously, he has to win. Republicans take the Senate. Dems maybe have a narrow majority in the House. And then they try to not seat him as president. I mean, what do you think is going to happen in this country if that's what happens? I mean, that to me is playing with fire at some level that we haven't seen since 2020, during, the riots and the social justice nonsense. I mean, it's kind of scary, isn't it?
It's an extraordinary. I agree, Charlie.
It is scary. I think, Charlie, that a lot rides on how thin the House majority is if the Democrats get it. I think if they only have like 1, 2, 3, a margin like that, I know they're very disciplined about hanging together, but I think there's going to be a lot of people, and a lot matters on how voters feel about this, right? Because that should get reflected in how members of Congress feel about it. If Trump gets elected, I really think that's kind of a mandate in the sense that it means that the voters have had it with lawfare.
Yeah.
They understand what happened on January 6th. We all saw it. It doesn't mean that you approve of it, but you have to rank what you think of it, against everything else, including the policies of the last 4 years. And if the public decides they want Trump as president, if they elect him, I think it would be very arrogant for the Democrats to say we're not going to seat him after he's won the election. So I have to hope that there's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 or so Democrats at least who say, look, we don't like Trump, but the voters have spoken.
But if the Democrats have the majority, then they're going to get – those 10 will get punished. And Democrats know how to punish.
Yeah, they do, but also if they're Democrats who win in districts that Trump carries, right, it could be very bad for them to vote to remove him from office.
Yeah, and this is Pete King. First of all, always great to have you on. How much concern should the state indictments be to Trump? So
I think that the Georgia one I wouldn't be too concerned about because that case is such a mess. They're not even going to hear the Georgia appeals court is going to hear the disqualification issue in December. So they're not even going to rule on that until sometime next year. And if that case, if she does get disqualified, I think the case will go away because a responsible prosecutor's office would not bring a RICO case like that. That's a preposterous RICO case. I'm not saying it was like everything that happened there was good, but like to call it like a mafia type case is insane. But assuming that there still is a case, at that point, President Trump will have number one, he'll be a sitting president. So I think the Justice Department will use the supremacy clause to argue that the case should be suspended until he's out of office, which I think is a reasonable request that they'll win on. Plus, he'll have a lot of – that case is wholly built on actions he took as president, so he'll have a lot of immunity claims to make. On the New York case, that could be more of a problem for him because what Judge Merchan wants to do is rule on the immunity on November 12th and then sentence him on November 26th. Now, I don't think he should be able to sentence him because immunity is supposed to be immediately appealable. Everything else in the case is supposed to stop because with immunity, the offense is bringing the case in the first place against somebody who's immune. So it's not like the usual issue where you can wait till the end of the whole lower court proceeding and then bring the whole thing up on appeal.
I think we are in bizarro world.
Yeah, really scary, too. Andy, thank you very much. Really great to have you here, Andy. Keep us
pleasure,
posted.
Guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.